Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to this, the Tuesday edition of Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show. My name is Usihle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty. Remember, all you need to do, if you're watching this simulcast, whether on Facebook or on YouTube, is hit that like button. That's right, smash that like button. And if you're watching on YouTube in particular, do me an even bigger favor, subscribe to the channel. Join the over 37,000 of you fellow viewers who are subscribers to the show. Remember, we also have a website. That's right, find us at bigdaddyliberty.com. There, of course, you can also pledge some financial support to the show, whether it's one big contribution or a monthly contribution of between 50 to 100 Rand a month. Help support this channel, especially with the kind of liberty advocacy work that we'll be doing this year. With that being said, enough with that jibber jabber. How about we get straight into the news? All right, we begin the news today with a corrupt kleptocrat of a president deciding to cut short his trip with all the rich hobnob and globalist elitist types at the World Economic Forum. Cyril Ramaphosa, of course, is who I'm talking about, deciding to cut short that trip over in Davos and flying back to the country to, quote, deal with the emergency load-shedding crisis. Yeah, as if there was no crisis when he left for Davos in the first place. Guys, I always say this, do not look for anything significant coming out of this. Now, of course, I'm citing from a News 24 piece which wrote up this particular decision after his spokesperson made the announcement that he's coming back to the country, saying the following. Now, President Ramaphosa, according to a spokesperson, has already engaged with the leadership of Eskom and NECOM, and those meetings will continue. More briefing sessions to key stakeholders will take place during the current week. This is, of course, according to Vincent Makwenya, the spokesperson. It continues, rather, to read, the WEF, that's the World Economic Forum's annual meeting, is scheduled to take place on Monday, running through to Friday. Eskom announced last Wednesday that stage 6 load shedding would run continuously until further notice, with no indication of when it will be scaled back, end of quote. I've said this over and over and over, and I'll repeat it very briefly for those of you who are uninitiated and maybe still believe that government or politicians or the state or state officials will save you from load shedding. If you continue to believe that nonsense, then you are the functional idiot. You are exactly the kind of caliber of person that politicians need, because you're easily dribbled. Nothing will change. No amount of meetings by Cyril Ramaphosa or any of these politicians will change the fact that it is the ideology itself that is bankrupting and crippling Eskom, an ideology which continues to assert that government must be the sole provider of electricity. For as long as anybody, whether it's the ANC or the EFF or any other of these filthy lefties, continue to believe that the state should be responsible for the provision of key services in this country, then nothing will change. Your quality of life will continue to erode away as these people hold on to that ideological dogma of statism or socialism or even communism. What we need, and I'll say this once and I'll say it again, what we need is to open up the electricity market, open up the generation of electricity to the private sector. Come one, come all, whether you're bringing a coal power plant, a oil burning one, a gas burning one, or if you want to be a hippie and produce it from the sun, I don't care. The fact is the private sector should be opened up to provide the electricity in this country. That is how we get out of the load shedding mess. Anything short of that is the usual statism. Oh no, it's out of its cage. A tiger is on the loose in Johannesburg South. That's right. In scenes reminiscent of that Netflix special, The Tiger King.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
With all those hick some bitches in the South of America.
That's a tiger. Now I understand.
who are keeping tigers as pets in their backyards, Walkerville, that's the community in Joburg South, is experiencing now a situation where a tiger that was kept on a property in the communities in that part of the world is now on the loose. That's right, an actual tiger. And I must say this, it's tiger, hey man, it's already wreaking havoc in that part of the world where already it's been reports of it having killed various pets, various animals in the area, from pigs to deers to cats to dogs. And of course, more concerningly, you now have a situation where a 37-year-old man has had to be hospitalized after being attacked by this tiger. This is a very serious situation, even if I'm beginning this segment with a few jokes about it. There's nothing funny about a wild animal like a tiger, which is very well adept at hunting its prey and killing its prey. Nothing funny about that animal being out and loose in a residential area. Let me read from this independent piece, which basically cites a community policing forum member in the area having said the following. Now, Gresham Mandy from the Walkerville Community Police Forum told a broadcaster that the search had resumed with, quote, quite a few drones and boosted by, of course, a police helicopter supporting the teams searching for the tiger. Gresham is quoted as saying, as of yet, we still haven't found her. We still do not have any leads where she could be. So we're going to go on whatever is coming out there with regards to where she could be. He continued to say that several animals had, of course, been attacked by this tiger, end of quote. Now, I must say this. If you're in that part of the world, it goes without saying, please, please, please be vigilant. And if you see this damn big cat, this tiger, don't try and chase after it. People sort of have this weird conception, especially the macho types, that, you know, I can take on a tiger or a lion or a bear.
Been doing this 20 years, never even been bit. It's okay.
No, dude. Call the cops, call this particular community policing forum who are on the lookout for this animal, or even call the SPCA, because, guys, the safety of actual human lives of people in that area is much more important. Okay, we're going to conclude here as I make a link perhaps from the first story around Ramaphosa cutting his Davos trip short in order to, quote, deal with load shedding in the country. Nonsense. Here's what's really happening. They can sense it much like perhaps you and I can sense it, and that is there is a growing, palpable and very dangerous brewing discontent in this country around the load shedding situation generally, but also in the decline of living standards. There is something brewing. Maybe take it from me who lives in a township. I straddle between being in a township and, of course, being in a rural area on my farm. There's definitely growing rumble and perhaps even civil unrest brewing from this current situation, as people are obviously, on the one hand, losing jobs if they were lucky enough to have work in this country, or worse yet, your daily lived experience of, say, having food in the fridge, for example, people seeing thousands of rands of hard-earned money in food having to be thrown away because it's now rotten due to the load shedding situation. This is brewing an anger that is palpably playing itself out in flash-in-the-pan moments across this country. Let me bring you to a piece in The Independent, which basically cited a recent I shouldn't even call it service delivery protest, violent protest in Phoenix, that's on the north of Durban, where, as I said, the scenes of violent burning of tires, rubble being strewn all over the street, and indeed public property being destroyed, with an anger from that community which is actually quite justified, with reports of there being 40 hours plus of no electricity for residents in that part of the world. Quoting, of course, from this Independent piece, a resident in the area is quoted as having said the following. Now, community activist Pastor Colin Mudley had been without electricity in the Grove End area for over 40 hours. He's quoted as saying, this is an ongoing problem. We have normal load shedding, and then the electricity doesn't return at the stipulated hour. Residents are fed up. Our light bills are still exorbitantly high, and now there's been an increase of 18%. How does that work? End of quote. Now, that last line in particular is exactly where I'm arguing the anger is being driven the most. a situation where the people who promise you, the statist individuals or the politicians or government officials who promise you certain services being delivered after you, of course, give them your hard-earned money, and when that service doesn't happen and the price of that service also then rises, of course people will be angry. Of course people will be angry with other residents in this particular community saying it's been 2 weeks already of no electricity. I will say this once and I'll say it again. Anybody who has to watch themselves literally empty a fridge of rotting food for money that they hard earned and used to pay for that food, there is nothing worse than the pain of watching someone, a poor person at that, emptying out a fridge of rotting food. Of course that person will be livid. Of course that person will become very unreasonable with nonsense stories by a president who says he's cutting a trip with billionaires out there in order to come deal with the crisis that literally has been ongoing since 2008. After a while, people stop believing the nonsense and they take to the streets. What we're seeing play out in Phoenix here is, but maybe even just the start of what is likely going to start happening across this country as people become very fed up with the stories and the blah blah from politicians and they start taking to the streets in the most violent of manner, perhaps even directing their anger directly to those politicians who have destroyed their lives. And the same political elite who, by the way, for themselves, if you've seen certain news articles, don't actually experience the bad effects of their bad decisions. For instance, politicians in this country off of the taxpayers' bill are basically living a life of no load shedding because they have the best generators. Eventually, that disparity in society, the real inequality in society is between the political elites and ordinary faith, flag, family, and freedom type South Africans. The moment that anger boils over, no amount of policing in the streets, no amount of even deploying army to the streets will stop the violent unrest. All right, that's it for this episode of Vuka Nazo, the Tuesday edition. If you like what you saw, do me a favor, hit that like button, and of course, subscribe to the channel. Remember, I will remind you again just one more time, we have a website. Visit us, please, at bigdaddyliberty.com. That website is going to become quite important going forward because as I travel around the country advocating for liberty ideas, we'll place that information as to where we'll be on the website. Remember, if you like how we begin your mornings, visit our friends over at The Daily Friend every Monday to Thursday at 1 p.m. where they, of course, will help wrap up your news day. With that being said, thanks for watching this episode. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Vuka Nazo.